Hello everyone, today we're going to look at orthographic drawing, and what I'm going to show you is how to draw this net development of a box, okay, as an orthographic drawing. Obviously once it's assembled it becomes a 3D object, as you can see like so. If I assemble it, it becomes a 3D object. But what we're looking at is actually drawing this before it becomes a 3D object. Okay, so we're drawing it as a flat net development, okay? And if you're making boxes, leaflet holders or anything like that, this is what you would have to produce a net development, okay? And obviously the orthographic drawing would be of your net development. Alright, so again, that's what we're going to be drawing. So I've got my piece of paper. I'm going to use A4, but probably potentially you'd use A3. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger. So I've already put the border on, okay? I've already put name, and it'll be your name, whoever's drawn it, the scale. Okay, I'm looking at 1 to 2 today's scale, and I'll talk about it in a little bit, and the title box. So you'd basically have that. So again, that's a very basic layout of an orthographic drawing. Okay. So like I said, we are going to draw this box today as a net development, and I'm going to use this example just to show you, and then transfer it, and then you can see the likeness of the two once I've completed it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure off this box. And because I'm drawing at 1 to 2 scale, whatever I measure on here is going to be half scale on my drawing. Okay, so let's start. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with this middle line here. Okay, so basically the centre of the box. So then basically I know I've got 2 panels that side, and I've got 2 panels that side. Okay, alright, so I know that is the centre. So what I need to do is find the centre of my page, because I don't want to start all the way over here, because I'm going to run off the line and that's going to fall off the page. So you've got to make sure that your page, you find your centre of your page and your centre of what you're drawing. And you've got to try and do a little bit of working out before you actually start drawing it, because the worst thing at all is to start drawing it and if, like I said, it falls off the page. So you've got to make sure it's centrally, horizontally, and also vertically. So we need to find the centre of the page first, really. That's the main thing to do. So I'm going to measure and find the centre of the page. Okay, so that's 100, that's just under 300, so that's 350, something like there. And then, so the centre of my page has 210. So that's 105, so it's roughly, so the centre of the page is roughly where that dot is. Okay, that's the centre of my page. So that's where that line is going to run. You've also got to make sure, not only is it centrally that way, it's got to be centrally this way as well. So in horizontal as well as the vertical. Because again, what we don't want is these falling off the page. We ain't got enough room to draw it on. Okay? So I'm going to measure this middle line here. And that is, I'm going to say it's just under 100 millimeters. Sorry. So what I'm going to do it as 100. I'm going to round it up so it makes it easier. So basically, I'm on my piece of paper, because I'm drawing at 1 to 2 scale. It will be 50 millimeters on the piece of paper. All right. So there's the centre of the page there. So what I need to do, I need to make sure. Okay, I've got 50 millimeter line, so 25 millimeters above that dot and 25 below. So I know then that will fit on the page. So I'm going to draw my vertical line, 50 millimeters. So I've got my dot, as you can see, and I've got it on 25 just there. So I've got 25 below the line, 25 above the line. You can do this on gridded paper if you've got some, because it is a lot easier on gridded paper. You can also do this on, would I be able to do this on 2D design on CAD? But obviously at the moment, because we're not in school, we need to do it by hand. It's not a problem, okay? So again, I've drawn my vertical line. It doesn't look vertical on the camera, but it is vertical on my page. All right, so that's that centre line there. I've just drawn. Next thing I'm going to measure is this distance here, and that distance is 70 millimeters. So again, 1 to 2 scale, 70 divided by 2 is 35 millimeters, or 3.5 centimeters. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw across that. What I'm also going to do actually is, we know we got 1, 2 panels. So we know 35 by 35, so that's 70 millimeters total to there. So what I'm going to do, instead of doing one line, 35, and then do another line, I'm just going to do that complete line. It'll make it a lot easier. And then I'm going to do the same that side. So basically I'm going to have 70 millimeters that way, 70 millimeters that way, okay, on my line. Okay, on the top of that line, so I'm going to have 70. So I'm going to have 71, so I'm going to put 70, making sure my line is horizontal. And again, do it quite lightly, okay, so do it quite lightly. So I'm going to go like that, I'm going to 70 there, and up to the 70. So I've got, so as you can see, I've got 70 this side, 70 that side, okay. One thing also is some of these lines, what you're drawing now, are going to be cut. Some of these lines are going to be fold lines. So we need to think about that as well, okay? How we're going to do it. Because obviously we need to make sure we're using the correct terminology, you know, dotted line, solid lines. So we may have to change this a little bit later. But if I just do the fundamental basics of how to draw this out, you can then do that with your own drawings, okay? Alright, so we know there's the centre line there. Okay, so I need to measure 35 millimeters. Okay, and I'm going to mark it just there, and I'm going to mark 35 millimeters there, and we know that's 35 there, and that is there. What I'm going to do to improve my accuracy, I'm going to do it at the bottom of the line as well. So I'm measuring it in 2 points. So I've got one there, one there. Okay, and then 1, 2, 3.5 is just there. It's just there. So I'm going to draw again, draw a nice light line. Okay, I've slipped a little bit there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to rub that out slightly because I just slipped a little bit there. Okay, so that's why it's best to do it nice and light, because then you can rub it out quite easily. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go all the way across to there. Okay, and then what I'm then going to do, looking at my drawing now, looking at this well, that centre line there represents that, and then I've just marked the position for that one, which is there. Okay, that point there, which is going to be there. Okay, and then on the other side, you can't see it, this point here is going to be that line there, and that end point there will be that line there. Okay, so you can see how I'm doing it. So I'm going to do is I'm going to basically join those lines up like so. Again, making sure they're parallel. Like so. So now I've drawn that main body. So I've drawn this main section across here. You've still got to add these tabs on the top and these tabs on the bottom, but we'll do that in a second. But you can see there's the basic body there, yeah? Okay, you can clearly see it fits on the page nicely because I've drawn it at 1 to 2 scale, and I've obviously found the centre of the page in the vertical and the horizontal. Okay, so I know I'm going to have enough room for the top and the bottom. Okay, so what I'm now going to do, I'm going to now measure this, that distance there. Again, that is 70 because it should be. Okay, and we know that obviously the width, because obviously we've already drawn it, so it's 70. So what we're going to do, it'll be again on your piece of paper, it will be, because we're drawing it 1 to 2 scale, it'll be 35 millimeters. So I'm going to measure 35 millimeters to there. To there. Okay, so that's 35 millimeters there. Alright, what I'm then going to do, I'm now going to, instead of doing it as a solid line, because that's a crease line, I'm going to do that as a dotted line, okay? So just save a little bit of time. So I'm going to do my dotted line, or my dash line, which indicates basically what is a crease line. Then I'm going to measure that distance there, which is 1.5 millimeters. So again, I'm going to measure 1.5 millimeters up there. It's not 1.5 because obviously it's a half scale, so it'll be around about 7. It'll be around about 7 millimeters. So roughly 7 millimeters just there. 7 millimeters just there. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is lightly draw As you can see, I am turning the page a little bit, and that is totally fine to turn the page. It's not a problem. Okay, I'm going to just do those lines slightly shorter because we know there's a curve on this here and here. So I'm just going to do that slightly shorter so I can put that curve. So I'm going to go and go slightly shorter there, like so. So I've left these 2 points, and what I'm then going to do is I'm just going to curve them myself. Okay, and do it the best you can. Alright, so there you've got that curve. So again, slightly, not quite the same curve as that, okay, but it's very similar, and that's fine. Okay, what also I'm going to add is this tab here. So we've got the flap here, I'm going to add this tab here, okay? I'm going to do it the same distance as that, so basically I'm going to do it the same thickness as that, because we want that tab nice and wide, because obviously that's going to be the glue tab. Okay, that's the glue tab. So from there to there is 15 millimeters. Obviously, we're doing it at a half scale, so it's going to be 7.5 millimeters. Okay, so again, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come slightly down. 7.5 is there, and I'm just going to mark a line there. 7.5 is just there as well. Okay. What I'm then going to do is, obviously you can see on this tab, it is angled. They are angled. Don't read too much about what the angle is, but as long as you put an angle in, obviously that's to help when the box is put together. If that was straight there, it would catch. So again, you put a little angle in there, so there's a little bit of space when you assemble it. Okay. So you can just make the angle up. It's not a problem. So I'm just going to go like that. Okay, I'm not sure how far. I'm going to just draw that. I'm going to move that line a little bit again because it's a bit low, and I'm just going to angle like so to there. Okay. What I'm then going to do is then. Okay, there's my tab. All right. It's okay. It's a little. I suspect it's a little bit thinner there than there, so I would probably need to rub that out again. Just make that a little bit more accurate. Okay. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put in this flap, this dust flap here. Okay, all right. What I'm going to do here, you can see there's this little sort of kink. Instead of it going like that and straight, I'm going to probably just have an angle that. I'm going to just angle that across there, so it makes it a little bit easier for drawing on both sides. Okay, all right. Okay. So now I'm going to measure that. That's 30 millimeters, so I'm going to make that 1.5 if you're drawing at 1 to 2 scale. And again, that angle on there, okay, long as it's the same, long as it's roughly the same, it doesn't really matter. It's not fundamental, it needs to be the same. It needs to be the same, but obviously it doesn't have to be really accurately done, if that makes sense, okay? So 30 millimeters. So I'm going to measure 30 there, and I'm going to, so we've got 30 minutes, so it's going to be 1.5. So let me just double check that. Yeah, so it's 30 millimeters, so it's 1.5 on this paper because I'm drawing at 1 to 2 scale. Okay, so mark there. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in slightly. I'm going to come in 5 millimeters there. And 5 millimeters there, just to get me angle of the line. So I'm going to again just angle that line to there and to there, like so. Okay, and then just take that across like so. Okay, so that is that top that there I've just drawn. Okay, if you do want to put these little clinks and these clinks in, you can. Okay, but that will be fine for your drawings. Okay, and then again the bottom, and I know that's going to be 30 millimeters again. Yep, okay, so again, that flap's exactly the same on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to do exactly the same, 15 millimeters. I'm going to come in slightly, 15 millimeters to there. I'm going to mark there, and come in slightly there, and go mark there. Just there. Okay, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw that line across there, like that, and then I'm going to draw to there, and to there. So again, flaps. So top, that's my lid, dust flap to the top, dust flap to the bottom. Okay, so looking at the drawings, we've now done those 3 flaps. Let's add again, this flap. So this flap is exactly the same as that flap. It's no different. So these two flaps are exactly the same. They're exactly the same measurements. I'm drawing exactly the same. Okay. So just to recap, I'm just going to measure that. So that was 35 and that was 7.5. So I'm going to go 35. It's just there. 35, okay, it's just across there. What I'm going to do again, I'm going to add my, like I did there, with dotted line. So just save me rubbing lines out later. So I'm going to add my dotted line. Okay. Then I'm going to add the tab, just like I did for the bottom. Okay. So we know it's 7.5 because I just measured it earlier. So go to there. 7.5. Oops. I'm going to come up slightly. Again, just leaving a gap because I can then draw that curve in freehand, okay? And I'm going to just draw that curve in like so. And that, I'm going to extend that line a little bit more. And draw that line like so. Okay, so lid, dust flap top, dust flap bottom, base. So I need another two of these just there. Okay? So what I'll do, I'll draw them, I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to draw them in and jump forward, so obviously it saves a bit of time because I'm only repeating what I've just done. So I'll just pause this and I'll continue once I've drawn it in, okay? Okay, so I've added those two tabs on, save a little bit of time with the video. So again, these two are exactly the same as these two, okay? So again, like I recap it, that's the lid, dust flap for the top, two dust flaps for the top, your four sides, your tab for gluing the whole thing together, okay? Your base, okay? Remember, I do need to change these lines, especially these lines, or that one, that one, that one, to dotted lines, because obviously, sorry, I will start that again. So that one needs to be dotted because obviously that's a crease line. That is a solid, so that's a cut line. That would need to be dotted or dashed because that's again the crease line. So then that's a crease line, that's a crease line, cut line, crease line. Okay, that would be a cut line, so that would be solid. So that one, that one, that one, and that one, like I said, would be dashed, dotted, because they're crease lines. Okay, but I'm not going to put them on because you can put them into your drawing. Okay, so there's my net development of that box. Okay, and you can see, because obviously I marked it out here, the vertical and the horizontal, it fits nicely on the page. What we need to do now is add some dimensions. Remember, all your dimensions are in millimeters. Okay, all right. You don't have to cover the whole drawing in dimensions, but just you want to put dimensions on, which is going to help someone be able to construct it from this drawing. So we sort of need overall dimensions. Okay, so I'm going to put some dimensions in down there, and there's a certain way we put dimensions in, which we have covered in lesson before. But I'm just going to go through it again. So we've got two lines on the end, which are called leader lines. So we're going to have one like that and one like that, and try and make this a little bit, try and make them a little bit faint. And you can see they do not touch the object. Okay, they're slightly off the object. And then you've got a line, either being horizontal or vertical in this case, going between the leader line, and then basically you're going to have two solid arrowheads at either end, like so. Okay, and then we know, on our piece of paper this is 50 millimeters, but obviously because we've drawn it at half scale, in real life it's 100 millimeters. So any dimensions you put on here are the dimensions what your object is going to be at full scale. It doesn't matter what scale you've got here, if that's 1 to 2, 1 to 5, 1 to 10, 1 to 100, that's still going to say 100 millimeters. Okay, the scale does not change the dimensions. Remember, the dimensions is what you want the object to be, the size of the object you want it to be. Okay, so I'm going to put 100 there, like so. You do not have to put the mm afterwards. Okay, you just got to put, you can just put the figure. So again, you've got your leader lines at either end where you're measuring from and marking from, which don't touch the object, and then you've got your vertical line. In this sense, it is a vertical line because you can see it's a vertical between the two, and then you've got the dimension running along that line, okay, in millimeters. I'm now going to do, basically, I'm going to do measure from there to there now. So again, I'm going to just put two leader lines up. Okay, I'm going to make them a little bit longer, like so. It doesn't matter, but again, they are not touching the object. Okay, I'm just going to that's it to the level. Okay, and then I'm going to put a line between the two, those leader lines. Okay, then I'm going to do my arrowhead and filled in. And we know, again, if I just measure this drawing so you can see, that is 35 millimeters, but we're doing it obviously as 1 to 2 scale, so full scale would be 70 millimeters, so we're going to put 70 there. Okay, I'm now going to, what I am going to do now, I think I'm going to do the distance from there to there. Okay, so again, on this case, you're going to see the leader line is going to be on that line, which is not ideal, but that's fine. And there. And then we're going to have another line like so. 2 arrowheads. Okay. And we know that was 15 millimeters, so we don't forget, we do know it's in the 1 to 2 scale, so that's going to be 30 millimeters. So we're going to put 30 on there. Okay, so it's 30 millimeters on there. I would also put a dimension line for that point. There. I would have a dimension line for probably this tab here. Okay, that distance there. Okay, length of this tab here and the width. Okay, all right. Obviously, if you've dimensioned this up here, you don't have to do it down here. You don't have to repeat it. Okay, you don't want it, like I said, you don't want it covered in dimensions where it gets really confusing. You just want enough dimensions on here so someone can pick this piece of paper up and go and make this net development. Okay, all right. Also, one other thing is the dimension lines are always to the sides of the drawing. You would never put a dimension line inside, unless you really had to, because if you start putting lines within the object, dimension lines, it could get confusing. It could be misunderstood as part of your actual object, not the drawing. Okay, so I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to stop there because I'm not going to add any more dimension lines because obviously you've got the idea. Okay, hope this has helped.